What's up, y'all?
Hey!
I'm Jarrett.
And I'm Tana.
And we are the Juice
Box.
We're doing something a little bit different this week. We are going to show you our video from a podcast we were able to do this week. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah, so we were on our friends Haylee and Amanda podcast. That was weird. They have a podcast called Haylee and Amanda. That's why it's so confusing. They're Haylee and Amanda, and they have a podcast called the Haylee and Amanda podcast. So very creative, not lazy at all. We like it. We had a great time having a conversation with them. They're two awesome women here in Dallas, and we just chopped it up with them. It was really good. So you're gonna get parts of that here, and then you can check out the entire episode on their podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Wherever else.
Do people use Stitcher? I don't know. Wherever you get your podcasts, possibly, you can find them there. So be sure to check them out. Listen to the full episode. Watch the parts here on YouTube. Enjoy that. What else?
They're awesome people.
Yes.
They're awesome people. They're friends of ours here in Oak Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda does floral and photography.
Yes.
And she's done both of those for us. So for our engagement photos and for our wedding coming up this week.
Yeah.
She's been awesome in taking care of that stuff for us. And Haylee.
And Haylee is an artist. She's done a lot of mural work here in Dallas. So you can check out her murals all over. She captures the human form, really awesome work. We can't say enough good things about these two women. So check them out. We'll put their handles in the description below so that you can check out their work, check out their podcast, and enjoy it. We had a great time.
Amen.
Yeah. So until next time, we love y'all. Take it easy. Have a good time. Laugh. Enjoy life. And we'll see y'all when we see y'all.
Amen.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Well, we're really excited to have you guys on the podcast this week. And you have been people that we have had on our list thinking about having you as guests. And so it's finally nice to have that realized, because you are friends of ours, but also just doing great stuff in the world.
Oh, thanks.
Well,
thank you.
We're trying to do our part. That's about it, though. Just doing our part.
You are. You're doing a lot. And you guys are about to get married next week.
Yes,
it's slowly approaching, and every day I wake up, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're one day closer.
Oh my God. What have I done? I'm doing my hours. Me.
Oh. Yeah. Huh. How about that?
But so can you tell everybody what you guys decided? You chose to get married during this pandemic, and you're doing it, more privately than doing it by Zoom, I believe. Will you kind of talk about why you decided to do that and what you're looking forward to about how you approached it? I think people would be interested to hear that.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been kind of hinting to Jarrett, or in the past I had been hinting to Jarrett that we should get married. We've been doing this thing for a while, so we should get married. And before he proposed, I don't know, I just had it in my head that we were going to get married this fall. And I was like, I don't care if you propose or not, I'm going to start planning a wedding. So
love it.
That's kind of how we merged in thought, I feel because I was saying that, but he had already been planning the proposal. And then once he proposed, it was kind of well, COVID's here. Let's speed this up.
Yeah.
He just
there were good things, I think, and bad things about, of course, being in this time that we're in COVID. But it just made sense for us to go ahead and get it done and not have a prolonged engagement. And I think about 3 months.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
He proposed in July, and then we were like, okay, let's try to figure out how we can do this and do it the way we wanted, because we had always wanted to get married in like a backyard. And we looked at a bunch of Airbnb spots and we were like, wow, this would be perfect. But if like we want to be safe, his parents are older. We didn't want them to have to travel and be exposed to all the young folks over here. We didn't want his brothers to have to travel from the East Coast. And I was like, well, I think it's not fair to have my family who lives here be there and your family not be there. So let's not invite anybody at all. So that's kind of how he came to the conclusion that it would just be the two of us. So,
You know, oh, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, but you're doing like a live stream, right?
yes. So
Live
it's going to
stream.
be on YouTube. And since we're already on YouTube, it's not through our channel, but we figure people are familiar with us being on YouTube. So we might as well do it like that and make it easy for everyone to access it. Anybody can watch it.
Yeah.
Even if they're not invited, they can watch it.
I think
So
that's awesome though. And I
Yeah.
just being on the wedding industry side too, I've seen so many brides like still trying to do the full on wedding and compromising on so many things. And I think like accepting what it is and just embracing the whole purpose of it, like that you get to marry one another and making it totally about you guys and the experience that you have together.
Yeah.
I think it's so sweet and it's going to be,
Intimate.
yeah, it's going to be so special.
yeah, we were just talking about that. Like it takes a lot of the pressure off because we've been addicted to this show called Married at First Sight. You guys watch that?
We also watched that.
We sure did.
Yeah. So we're super addicted to it, but we're like, can you imagine like having like one marrying a stranger, but also having all of your family witness that experience and then like having to kiss that person and take pictures with them? Super awkward. So like now that we don't have that pressure, it feels like we can be ourselves in the moment, which I feel is really important for
Yeah.
a marriage, right? Like you want to be yourselves in that moment.
Right.
So
It's
Yeah.
also, you know, like the biggest commitment you'll ever make ever. So
Mhm.
it's nice that, you know, you get to be fully present with no distractions.
Right,
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you're saying such serious stuff in your vows and everything. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in the ceremony of everything and the party. And like I remember planning my own wedding. I was like, I really want the ceremony to be important because what we're saying and what's going to be said at that part is what really matters. And I think that's what y'all are going to be really focused on, and no distractions really except for that, which is
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you
Yeah.
still have the witnesses, because the witnesses
Yes.
are important because they're, you know, like your accountability and your support and all of that,
Sure.
which will still be there. But it's almost like, now that I'm thinking about it, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it is.
Love it.
Jarrett.
And it's funny,
Like,
you can tell the story about your brother and Lindsay
Oh,
saying that it was
I mean,
perfect.
really, with most weddings, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, Amanda, having to organize a seating chart for the reception and intertwine and mix up all the families correctly and whatnot, and seeing my brother go through that, we have a visitor. Seeing my brother go through that, and there's just the stress around that leading up to the date, and then getting to the date and seeing most, if not all, everyone not abide by what was planned, and that insanity. I'm so happy that we're not, we have a table for two.
Yeah.
It's we're not doing a 200 people party, and but like you said, it really is good for us that we can be present. It can't just be about us, and whoever's tuning in, can enjoy that moment.
And when we looked at the list of people that we actually invited to this wedding, over 300 people. Like there's no way that we would have a wedding with that many people ever.
right.
But with this, it's like you can invite, like I'm telling people to pass the invitation on. Like if you want to invite somebody, go ahead and do it.
Oh my gosh. Are you going to have a virtual reception? Everyone's going to eat whatever they want to eat virtually?
Listen.
Whatever
you want to do.
at your house.
Yeah.
Eat and drink.
Well, I was gonna say, preparing for this episode, Haley and I were talking about both of you individually, and and also we were reading up on you as well, just to have even more information. And it's very interesting that knowing your two backgrounds and your two stories and the things that you came from and your experiences, how aligned you both are together. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about today, is to share with people, Tana, your kind of journey to your why, your purpose, and Jarrett, yours as well, and how they've merged in, this company, this juice company, the juice box, and how it's these two separate lives, two separate purposes, but they've kind of aligned perfectly in this new venture together. So I don't know who wants to kind of talk first, but I just think it's cool to hear how your stories have merged.
I think you should start, because the juice box really does start with Jarrett, and I come into it and become an integral part of it. But I think it's good for you to start where you started.
Sure. I think, so, just a little information for those that are listening. So the Juice Box, we are a CBD company. So we infuse CBD into our juices. And so how we got to CBD goes back to me trying to figure out how to deal with my anxiety and depression. At the same time, seeing family members, my father, and others being prescribed medication for their issues and ailments. And seeing that together, I don't want to say the over medication, but there's just the readiness to prescribe medication just to give a quick fix. And so, as far back as middle school, or at least to my memory, middle school, dealing with anxiety and depression and that swinging back and forth, I wasn't sure how to handle it. And at that young age, we didn't know what was actually going on.
And especially, sorry, I do this all the time, just interrupt to add, but especially in the Black community, it's so looked down upon to talk about mental illness. Mm-hmm. So our narrative is kind of like, you just deal with it and move on. And I think even as a society, we do that, like just push forward and not address those emotions that you're feeling. But it's even more compacted by having Black parents or Black grandparents who are like, well, that's not really an issue that we're going to deal with. Like, you don't need to see somebody. You don't need to have therapy about it. So go ahead.
No, so that was very important.
I think too that's very interesting, because I also just learned that from a friend this year. At school, I have some teacher friends, and one of my Black teacher friends told me, when I was talking about my mental health and that, I think it's important to see a therapist. She said, yeah, I was told that you are never supposed to, that's a white person's thing to see a therapist.
Sure.
And she was like, those are the words.
That is
And I had never heard that before. And she said it's the stigma around it. And then once she started seeing a therapist, she realized how helpful it was or whatever. But I had never heard that until this past year. And then you saying it again, it's just, I had no idea that stigma even existed.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's true.
Why
so that
it exists? I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
where did
I mean,
that
it
come
still
from?
does. You're right. Like, it's existed generationally, but I feel like as we progress as a society, all of us, I think that we're coming to a place where we accept this and we understand that it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to be prescribed certain medications. It's okay to acknowledge that you are feeling these certain emotions that may be a sign of chemical imbalances, right? But I think it's taken us a while to get there. Like, even my parents' generation are just getting to a place where they're like, yeah, this is an issue. Yeah.
Okay, Jarrett, sorry.
No, that was very important. I'm glad that was inserted there. So that's definitely the cultural history that's underlying this. I think I had another I guess, history as well, or something that was rooted that kept me from addressing my issues. So not only being Black, but also being an athlete and being in football and it being portrayed as a tough guy sport, or, to be strong, be tough, kind of get over it, don't cry, all those things that are, repeated throughout time. So with those two competing, it was very hard for me to address those issues because it was something that, I thought I can kind of will my way through this down period. Or, just, stand tall and be a man, and stand up to that anxiety.
Also, the third factor could also just be the stigma around being a man. What that
Sure.
means to be manly, stand up,
Mhm.
be a man.
Definitely, and that is so much, or that language is, the through line, I guess, in football, especially probably most sports, but definitely in football, is that how can we get these young people to be a man, and whatever those leaders, those coaches see as being a man is, that's portrayed and pushed on us. And so middle school and high school, trying to figure out these feelings and these emotions, it was very hard for me to address, there's something that's, really going on. And to the point where once I got to college, understanding and finding out that it's a chemical imbalance. And something that I can't just, toughen up or will my way through. So with that history, with that groundwork, once I did get to college and started getting prescribed medication and being disappointed at those results and the side effects from those medications, it was really, I guess, my journey that I had to find something that's more natural, something that I can be okay with, something that I can take and pronounce. I can actually know what I'm putting in my body to be well and be better. So it took me on a journey, from CBD to different exercise. Instead of doing this football workout or playing basketball, it was now how do I get into yoga and meditation and so different holistic I think means to heal. Changing my diet, that as well, coupled with playing sports, not too many vegan football players are out there, and so it was I think an issue for me to do all these things at the same time.
Where did that inspiration, that outside method come from? Because if you're stuck in this world where it's be a man, do this remedy, this, take this medicine, where did this outside influence come from to be holistic and all natural and change it up?
All right, y'all. If you want the rest, you got to tune in next week.